Hello, hello. Welcome to the Actually Authentic podcast with Candace
and Awanda.
So we hope everyone is doing well. We are very excited about our episode today. As you all know, it is Black History Month. So
hey, all February, all the whole month long.
The whole month. The whole month. So we want to just have a fun but serious conversation about oppression, but not in the way that you might be thinking. More so about oppression and how we should realize that we can overcome it, right?
Right.
And not being stuck there.
Kind of connect the past to the present, on how it maybe could affect us in present day, but how we can kind of try to shift the mindset about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we named this episode kind of like making a way out of no way.
Breaking the cycles.
Breaking cycles.
And building the legacies that we can build. Like, it literally, our options are unlimited. And I feel like a lot of times people don't realize that. I know, just to get into it a little bit, like when I was younger, I used to feel like certain things were unattainable simply because of my color.
Really?
I did.
So do you think so? I never acknowledged the whole color thing until I got a little bit older. I don't think I really realized like the differences, but maybe it was because I lived in a neighborhood or grew up in a neighborhood with like all blacks and all Hispanics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I didn't start to realize that type of stuff until I got older. Like, I do think that Delaware is a little bit more diverse than probably the part of New Jersey that I'm from in regard to that. Like, even when I see when my kids went to school, it was more like different type of cultures and different type of people. Mainly in my neighborhood, it was mostly blacks and Hispanics. So I think a lot of times maybe you don't really recognize the differences until you start getting older, or if you get treated differently.
So I think that's what probably made me realize the differences, right? Because I am from here, been here, and the way that our schooling system was, it was like, us in the city, not to say like it was like bad living, but in the city, you live in different types of houses for the most part. And there are outskirts of the city. So my bus, when I was in elementary school, would literally go to the neighborhoods that have really big houses, that you pull up, like the Home Alone house. I always use that because it was these twins, these girls I went to school with, and they had a big house like that. So when the bus is picking them up in front of their house. So it's like you see this big house, and it's just like, will that ever be something that I can get, or that even my parents could get, or like just,
or is it like attainable?
Yeah, or is it only for this population of people? Because truth be told, when we were going to school, the kids in those houses all looked the same, and it wasn't us.
But you guys were going to the same school. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a good point for us to touch on, is exposure. So the difference is that you had that exposure at a younger age for it to even prompt your thoughts that this is something that's possible, or that there is life outside of this. And I find very often that when you're in a certain neighborhood, a certain place, I'll say, if for people that don't know that's watching, I'm from North New Jersey. There's a lot of people that come from where I'm from, but they've never ventured outside of that. They don't have exposure, like they haven't traveled, or maybe their parents didn't take them different places. So, and I'm sure that this is relevant for any city, any urban place, not just in Jersey. That when you don't know life outside of where you're from, you don't even fathom the possibilities. Because what would make you think that, right? If you never saw
I've never even seen it. So I don't even know that is something. I don't even know that that's a goal that I even need to have.
Right.
Because I've never seen it.
Exactly. You're gonna aspire for what you see. What's in your neighborhood? What is hot in your circle? What's okay if everybody got a nice car and that's the big thing where I'm from, then that's what you're gonna think is the signal for I made it, or I did this, or I achieved something.
Yeah.
So just for you to even have the exposure riding the bus to be able to see these same girls that are going to school with you, but they live in this type of house, that right there is a mind opener. And it's a big thing. I think even when we're touching on our topic today, or how you can change your mindset, is exposure. Even if you are not in the position to attain that thing, like, take your kids on trips, like, ride in these neighborhoods and see the lights on the houses, on the big houses, or go different places, go to museums and things like that, because it opens your mind up to the possibilities of what's actually out there, outside.
And I agree with you on that one. Even when you said, like, the museum, like, you know, people, like, when we're growing up, especially depending on where you're from, you go to a museum on a school trip. That's about the only time you're probably going to go to a museum. But it really is, like, I don't know, it's like it really transforms your mindset when you do that. Like, when we went on, you know, me and Sam went on a date, and we went to the museum. And it kind of became our thing for a while, where we would, like, just go to Philly and just go to the different museums.
I love the museums in Philly.
And really just learning a lot about history and just understanding. I know for me, like, going to, like, DC to the African American Museum.
That was an eye opener too.
Yeah, because for me, it's like, it was almost motivating. So it's kind of like what we talking about today. Like, when I went, I seen everything that we kind of went through, and that our, you know, ancestors and, you know, people from the early days went through, so that we could have these opportunities. And I'm like, how can we fumble these opportunities? Like, we didn't even have a lot of this, and we had to fight so hard for it back in the day. So why are we not really embracing the fact that we don't have to fight as hard? We really don't.
There's a lot of information and there's a lot of resources out here. And the thing too that I've learned is our ancestors, they already did it. It's already been done. We talked about earlier, like, Black Wall Street. It already happened.
Yes.
So why do you think that we can't do it again? Or just people being, like, property owners and owning a bunch of land and stuff. Like, our ancestors already did that. They had oil and land, and they had it.
And I think even if you, and, like, look at it from the aspect of they had it, yes, a lot of it was stolen. But we in a position now where we could get it back. It may not be that exact, you know, family or that exact bloodline, but we are in a position where we can literally rebuild, build, and get all of these things back, instead of looking at it like, oh, you know, just keep on talking or harping on the situation that already occurred. We can't do anything about what our people or what certain cultures have had to endure, but what we can do is make a new future, or start creating a new future right now.
Absolutely. And I think also, I mean, we're definitely in a tumultuous time.
Yes.
Politically right now, there are a lot of racial things happening, but for me, you know, I'm not really like a news politics person.
I'm not either, really.
Yeah, so, you know, I'll never get off on that rhetoric, because I think that a lot of it is just distraction. And a lot of the people that I think get off on what's going on in politics are also a lot of the same people that use it as excuses. Because those are some of these factors outside of voting, right? I definitely think we should all vote, but outside of voting, some of these things are things that are beyond our control, right? Like, we can't control what our president says and what he does. It's out of our control. He is who he is.
Yeah.
But what you can control is what you do, right? And what you put your energy towards and what you're working towards. You can control that. And so that's what I choose to put my energy towards, the things that I have control over. And that's what I encourage everybody to do. You know, like we talked about, like, that's in our DNA. That's definitely in our DNA, is like making a way, figuring it out, right?
Yep. Using what we got to, you know, make it.
Yeah, like let's look at the positive side of this, is that we can do that, right? We can focus on the things that are controllable factors and put our energy towards that, because again, like you just said, we've done this before, like generations behind us.
Yeah.
Do you think there's value? So, like we talked about going to the museum and stuff like that, but do you think that there's value in people educating themselves on, like, Black history or our history?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Because number one, we can't ignore the fact that it happened. We can't ignore it. But I feel like when you understand and you know, educate yourself or allow yourself to understand what they truly went through, for me anyway, it's motivation of like, I want to do so much more.
Yeah.
I just want to really like push the envelope and break that ceiling, you know, that's set to, because I can.
Right.
And you know, and even from the other aspect
I was
of
gonna
to
say
see
not
what
even
people
just
did.
right. I was gonna say not even just the negative aspect, like the positive aspect.
It was
to
so
see
many
all
things.
the innovators, people that came up with ideas and products and things. Like there are so many people that did like
amazing
things,
amazing things that we still use today.
Yeah, and we're still thinking like wow, like they were able to do that with that in that era, like when it wasn't all of this technology, it wasn't all of this comfort, you know, it was tough.
Yeah.
So if they were able to come up with new inventions and processes and products, why can't we?
Yeah. And things that are still around literally today and things that we use in our daily life. So they didn't let oppression stop them from creating something that would last a long, you know, a lifetime, many lifetimes. So yes, I do think it's important to educate yourself because, to your point, you get to understand how much impact we really did have as a people and as a culture.
And I know, like, you know, other cultures, we always, you know, talk about this. Like, other cultures look to us, like, we drive so many things, you know. We drive music, we drive fashion, we drive like trends, sports. Like we're just like the trendsetters, and so I really wish like more of our people would walk in that power, right? To know like we set the trends, so why aren't you walking in that, like embracing that? Like we can always look at the negative, right? Like we can, and there's negative and positive and everything. And maybe we should touch on that. Like we said, we were going to discuss a little bit like generational trauma versus the generational wisdom, and how maybe that kind of draws people into the negative side, and what can be done about it. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I definitely feel like I've seen, you know, the generational trauma piece where it's just like for generations after generation after generation, it's like, you know, people just adopt what the last generation did. And so for that, sometimes it makes it hard to really move forward and start a new tradition or a new way of life.
Without questioning.
And I feel like that happens more often than not, where it's like, oh, you know, if like, and even if you look at it sometimes, you may have a person who was raised by a single mom. Then that mom was a single mom. And now you're having children, you're a single mom, you know, and it's like this generational thing that goes down. And then it's like the behavior that comes with it kind of remains the same. Instead of being like, you know what, yes, I do have this obstacle of being a single mom, but I'm going to still pursue this. I'm going to still, you know, just achieve all my dreams.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Do you think it's because, if we're using that as the example, when it goes back to like the generational wisdom, do you think it's because no one ever took the time out to stop and like examine it or look at it as trauma, and again like discuss it from a wise place, right? Like try to correct it and discuss it from a wise place to say like, maybe this is what I did, or this is what happened, but this wasn't the best decision, or this isn't the best way of doing it. I think a lot of times maybe in our culture that doesn't happen.
Hey you guys, so if you are enjoying this video, please take a moment to like it and also subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends.
And maybe that's why it keeps going on and on.
Yeah, you just kind of feel like, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be. And it's not. It's actually not supposed to be just one way that it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be whatever you want it to be. And I just feel like we gotta take control of that, like really stand in that power of like, you could do whatever you want to do.
You can, but I think when it comes to things like that, like building family, I do think that building family is like building wealth and building legacy and building all of those things. And you know, sometimes we do it willy-nilly. Yeah, because of our choices, because of, trauma, going back to that. But I do think that there is a blueprint to it, and I think if you look in other cultures, which we're not, we're from African descent, so our culture may be different from other Europeans and stuff. But I do think if you look at other cultures, that they don't always marry for love. They marry for wealth, or they marry for legacy. They marry because this is what it is, right? This is the standard. And a lot of times, I think we talked about this a long time ago on another episode, where one of our viewers was like going back and forth with us about women and why they make the choices and stuff. But I think there is some mythology to that, because you think about it, right? I got divorced. I didn't stay, with my kid's father. But you do think about, if you had all of your children with one person and y'all stayed together, that's way more wealth, right? Right there. That's way more resources right there within your family. So I do think there is some logic to it, and just the strength of the family, even in the Black culture.
Yeah.
When we look back, when we saw these like strong families, where it was these families together, I do think that there is strength in that. And sometimes with this trauma that we're talking about, it gets passed down that like, oh, you don't need a man, or you don't need, a wife. You can just have your babies, and that's, do it.
Because surface level, that statement is saying, like, in terms of a day-to-day care type of situation, okay, yeah, maybe you don't need another person there, but generationally speaking, and just thinking about like the best life and being fruitful and all those things, you do need it is nice to have a spouse, or to have
the emotional support, the financial support, right? Like when that child is sick, you have another person, another parent, right there to help you. And it's not, and you're also teaching your children love, you're teaching them relationship, you're teaching them communication on a daily basis, for them to be able to see how these things play out. So that's, to me, that's the generational wisdom part of what we're talking about.
And I think too, like when I was younger, like there are certain things that we're doing now as a married couple and as a family that I couldn't have imagined even doing years ago.
Really?
And
like
even
what? Tell us an example.
Just even like investments that will last a long time, things like that. Like even when, like, it should be normal. It should be normal. It shouldn't be anything that's like, oh my gosh, like what? But when I say it's literally like that, no matter who we talk to, it's like, what? Even with the kids, it's like, oh my gosh, like to them, they're like, this is big, and it's so big. And then like, when I think back, I'm like, I'm so thankful, I'm grateful, I'm humble, and all of those things. But when I was younger, just because of kind of like how life was growing up, and everything was just like, go to school, get a job,
and
survival mode, and just the basics. It's like you don't even imagine anything kind of like beyond that. So then to be in that space, it's like you can do whatever. That's why I say that so loosely like that. I mean, obviously it requires work, it requires planning, it requires money, funds, whatever it may be, but you could literally do whatever it is that you put your mind to and that you want to do. Like, maybe your grandparents or great grandparents or whomever didn't do that or didn't take that step. It doesn't mean you can't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so.
No, that makes complete sense. But, like we said, I think a lot of times they were more so in survival mode, making sure that everybody had food and clothes. So that, you know what I mean? When we're able to like build off of that, then we can start to look at investments and, putting something in place so that we have this for a long time and looking further. But I love that. I love that you guys are even doing that. That's great. Great. And more people need to see it so that they can, again, understand that it's possible. Just like when you were on the school bus and you saw it, being able to understand that that's a possibility for them too.
Yeah, and also I think using it as motivation, not as what's the word I'm thinking of? So as motivation, not as like limiting what you can do. I don't know the word. It's a word that I'm thinking of, because it's like when I seen the girls coming out the big house getting on the bus, it wasn't something to defeat me. Like I wasn't
to
defeated.
feel
like oh, I feel like crap. Yeah, I'm jealous. I can. That's how they got that big house. All that. No, if anything, it's like I want. I want that
too. Yeah.
You know.
But I think that's also a mindset.
It is.
Yeah. Because some people are gonna see, you know, a person that's prospering or not letting those thoughts hold them back and say, oh, they think they're better than other people, and then another person is going to see it and be like, well, if she did it, I could do it too. That's totally mindset. So what do you think are the factors that actually, I guess, separate those two people or help like break those cycles?
I mean, it's definitely just relative to the people that you're talking about and how they received their childhood or growing up or different things that their family went through. And just like I said, that mindset piece of I want more, and I'm motivated in a positive way by different things that I see, as opposed to looking at it in a way like, oh, like they better, or no, it's like, no, you are better in my mind, but I want to be that right better now. Too, you know. Like
I think you touched on it a little bit when you were saying like education and like going to museums or reading. And
the other part too is, sorry, I just thought about that. The other part too is not feeling inferior, but also, like we say it all the time, I want to be around and talk to and deal with and learn from people that are doing what it is that I want to do. So instead of looking at them like they are the girls that live in this big house, it's like, want to be friends?
Yeah.
Like not on some more like, you know, like desperate or anything, but if it happens organically or if it's cool and they're actually cool, down to earth people, which actually they were, those, you know, they was my friends. But just being closer and just wanting to like see it firsthand and just realizing like I'm no different than you. I'm really not. I mean, you do have more, you know, or it appears that you have more. And I say appears, so we never know what's really going on.
Yeah.
But it appears that you have more, that your family, you know, made good decisions or, you know, doing well. I want to be friends.
Yeah. Well, you know, when we have our networking events, I feel like that's like one of my huge things. Like, you learn something new every day.
Absolutely.
Because I do think if you have an open mind, you can learn something new every day. Especially if you're like out here exposing yourself to new things and new people, and it doesn't have to only be within your culture. Remember we discussed that I personally feel like I grew so much. I feel like I grew like leaps and bounds because I left where I'm from at such a young age, because I was able to meet other people outside of my culture, outside of where I'm from, different age groups. Like I developed friends that were older, that were from different cultural backgrounds, and I got to see how other people do things. And not to say that the way that we do things is wrong, but if you don't have anything to compare it to, then you're just doing it this one way. Versus once you start to see how other people do things, then you have a gauge where you can say, all right, maybe I'm gonna take a little bit from here, I'm gonna take a little bit from here, and you learn different things. That I think that accelerates your growth so much, right? And I really want to encourage people that are watching, that are within our culture or outside of our culture, to explore other people, explore other cultures, explore people from different age brackets. Just be open, because you'll learn so much, right? It will really change your mindset on how things should be,
right?
You know, on how you have to go about things. You know, it just changes things for you.
Yeah. Because
you grew up how you grew up. You can't change your family. You can't change that you're black or you're white or you're Spanish. You can't change that. That's what you know. That's your foundation. But once you're building on your foundation, you can see how other things are done and incorporate that into your life, especially if you feel like it's working.
Agreed.
Yeah. It's working. So I think that that's a big piece, is to be able to step outside of yourself and outside of what you know, to be able to try to change things. Yeah, and you can be the change maker in your family. Literally, like, unlimited opportunities, unlimited things out here. Just get out here, start going to museums.
Yes, going to museums. And also just even, like I said, what I was talking about earlier, just things that we're doing now that I didn't think we would do. expanding yourself beyond where you're from, or just where you live, or even the country you live in, or just understanding that the world is huge.
Yeah.
The world is huge. And literally what they say is our oyster. Is it our oyster?
Yes.
Is that the oyster? The world?
Yes, the world is the oyster.
Well, the world is an oyster.
The world is your oyster.
Your oyster, yes. And I love oysters, so I guess that, lines up. But yeah. So I say that to say, like, the world is your oyster. You don't have to be so, just stuck in a small space, or just this small area that you're from, or that you're familiar with. Like, expand.
So let's give our viewers, we want more engagement, so let's give our viewers some things to comment when you guys see this episode. Comment someone, like, within the last 3 years, like, within Black history, that you learned about, like, someone new, something new.
Okay.
I'll go first and then they can comment. I learned about Cirillo McSween, so everybody look him up. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but he does what I do. I'm not gonna say it, but he did it he did it big. Back in the day, he was, like, connected with Martin Luther King, but he was, like, out on the streets doing what I do as a profession. So you guys look him up. When I learned about him last year, the end of last year, I went to New York, and I learned about him, like, around that time, and it really motivated me to say, like, wow, if he could do it back then, what I can do now with all of these resources and tools and stuff. Yeah. So Ken, who's your
Honestly, I can't say that there's anybody new that I just learned about.
But say, who's the person that really sticks out in your mind?
Well, I feel like somebody who I've been running across a lot, especially, like, on my timeline, is Malcolm X.
Yeah.
And it's like these snippets of, like, just wisdom. When I say wisdom, it's all wisdom about how to just look at things differently. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like, he says things, I mean, obviously he went really deep on things, but I feel like he really said, I've heard a lot of things over the last 2 weeks or so that has me like, you know what? That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like he was such a change maker. Like, he changed himself so much, right?
Yes.
Like, he totally reinvented himself.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that in itself is so...
Yeah, because he could have kept doing the things he was doing, but he reinvented himself, and he ran it again. Mm-hmm. So that, like, I feel like I want to see more. I want to read more. That's what I'm going to do this year, not even just this month. But.
Okay. So you guys comment, drop some names when you watch this episode of people that we can look up or we all can engage on within Black history. I commented on my Facebook the other day, like, I feel like there's not a lot.
It's not a lot. Yeah, I know. I seen your post.
Like, I'm like, what's going on? Like,
so listen, make it a point to just educate yourself. Pick one person, 5 people if you want, that were a staple in our history, Black history anyhow, and just educate yourself, because what you learn will be so motivating, and it really will help you hopefully expand your mind and just do great things.
Well, that's it for this episode.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.